things that aren't good for you, the more that you drink, and alcohol and those sorts of things, actually that will increase your stress because it depletes the body. So you have less resilience against stress than you might have if you ate well. So let's talk about some things that you can focus on in your eating to build up your immunity to stress. So sometimes it's hard to find things, when you're on vacation, you're in a different place, you're not sure where everything is. Maybe grocery stores are a little further out than you're used to, but if you can get to the frozen food section, there are things that you can pick up that will last longer. You don't have to worry about them going bad, and can actually be economically more cost effective too in the frozen food aisle. So berries, any kind of berries to make a smoothie. Smoothies are great to have on vacation. Just sit and sip a smoothie, rather than that tropical alcoholic drink. These things are really good for your antioxidants and really good for your fiber. You can also pick up frozen edamame. It's a kind of Japanese soybean. It's a good source of protein, and they can be tasty just eating from a dish, or they can be mixed into other meals. Seafood, you can get frozen salmon, which is quite cost effective and fresh and good. And vegetables, studies have shown that frozen vegetables are just as good for you as the fresh, and in fact, maybe even more so, because the nutrients are frozen in there. They haven't begun to leach out, if you will. So those are things that you can think about using when you eat. Another thing to avoid another problem that people sometimes have is they eat a lot on vacation, they stress eat, and then they gain weight. So one of the trendy things to do now is called IF, intermittent fasting. And there's all kinds of ways to work that in. You can skip breakfast or dinner or lunch. You could fast the whole day every other day, or a little bit at a time. Fasting periods help you to clear out waste left by dead and damaged cells, and helps to eliminate the accumulated cellular debris, which a lot of researchers are finding to be one of the big causes of chronic diseases as we get older. So the studies have shown that intermittent fasting can decrease your risk of heart attack. It decreases cancer risk. It lowers your diabetes risk. Now, apparently, this data is only seen in animals. The human data wasn't quite as clear, so just a caveat to that. But seems like diabetes risk would be, a reasonable thing to expect. You can also have improved cognitive function, so you're not kind of out of it, as you can sometimes be when you eat certain foods. And it can also help in protection against some effects of aging, including things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So if you have a health condition like, severe gastrointestinal or reflux, it might be easier to manage food intake that's more regular. But allowing yourself to be hungry now and then is a very healthy thing to do, as long as you maintain a healthy weight. Now, when you're doing this, you should continue to drink lots of water or herbal tea or other fluids that will help you stay hydrated during the process. But if it's a struggle and the fasting is causing you to stress out, of course, you don't want to do that either. This is supposed to help you not be stressed, not add to it. All right, so now the last thing that I will give you here are some yoga poses. Now, last week we talked about the full boat pose, and this is for your abs, to strengthen your abs. So, well, a lot of times when we're getting ready to take a vacation, you're going to be out on the beach, you kind of want to get those abs in shape, and maybe help slim down a little bit. These are all things that the full boat pose can help do. But even perhaps more importantly, you get a strengthened abdomen and spine and hip flexors. It stimulates the kidneys and intestines and prostate glands. It can provide a great deal of stress relief and improve your digestion. Because there's nothing worse than feeling bloated and sick when you're on vacation. So how do you do the full boat pose? It's very easy. It's one of the easier yoga poses that there is. You can do a half boat pose if the full boat pose is a little too much. But, start with the half boat, and then you can work your way into the full boat. It's not that far a journey from half to full, and it will strengthen your core, if you will. So what you do is you sit on the floor, legs straight in front of you, and on the inhale, you bend your knees so your feet are flat on the floor. Next, you place your hands on the sides of your thighs, right below your hips, and your fingers are pointing toward your toes. Now exhale, slowly lean back at your hips and lift your legs with bent knees just a few inches off the floor. Your back is going to be straight as you draw your shoulder blades together and lift and open your chest. Next, you slowly straighten out your legs as far as they'll go. Your thighs will be angled about 45 degrees from the floor, as well as your back and torso. So you should look like a V, with your arms still touching your thighs. Then slowly you move your arms alongside your legs, with palms facing down until they are parallel to the floor, and hold the pose for 10 to 20 seconds to begin with, and increase the time as you do the pose more. And hopefully you can work up to holding that pose for a full minute. And then you release the pose by dropping the legs and returning to your sitting position. So as you can see, this is going to have a lot of benefits for not just the abs, but the lower back and the hips. It can also help improve balance. It stretches the spine. It's a great pose to help you strengthen that core. Now, you might want to use, if you have straps and things like that, or yoga blocks to begin with. If it feels a little too much, you can use those to help you through the pose. Now, if you just want to try the half boat pose, you can do that. And you do that by, not going up quite as far, lifting your legs quite as far, just a little bit back, a little bit off the floor. And that can also have, increasing benefits. And then you can work up to being in the full pose, as I mentioned. All right. Now, the other yoga pose is for a completely different reason. This is a tonic for the mind. This is to calm the mind. So if those things, those stressors we've talked about during vacation or during your time off start to percolate up, it can calm the mind. It can also help dealing with mild depression, any sadness you're feeling, and also has a nice effect on abdominal organs, lungs, and can rejuvenate tired legs too. So, reducing anxiety, fatigue, backache, headache, insomnia. So the bridge pose is another relatively simple pose. And basically you end up looking like a construction of a bridge. So you begin lying on the floor. If you want to use a blanket or a yoga mat under your shoulders to protect your upper back, you can do that. You bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor and parallel. And they are hip width apart. And your arms are at the side of your body with palms on the floor for stability. Now, on the exhale, you're going to slowly lift your hips toward the ceiling, but keeping your knees and thighs parallel, and of course your feet flat on the floor. Engage the muscles of your lower back, your buttocks, your thighs, and abdomen to keep the body taut and firm. Lift the hips until the body is flat from chest to knees. So you look kind of like a seesaw in a way. Now you keep the neck loose by lifting the chin away from the body, so you don't put too much strain on your neck. And then you hold the pose for 30 seconds to a minute. And when you're ready to release, you exhale and you slowly roll your spine down from the neck and ending at the hips, sort of one vertebrae at a time. And if you're feeling good, do it again. So this is another pose that can really have a really positive effect on your lower back if you have back problems, but it also is very helpful to kind of release stress and calm the mind. The only thing to be careful about is if you have a chronic sort of knee, back, or neck pain, you should not do it unless you are feeling better, and consult a doctor before you do it. It's important that your shoulder blades support your full weight and not your neck, because you can really injure your neck if you do that. So make sure that you use a folded towel or a yoga mat under the shoulders, so you don't slip to the floor, and it will reduce pressure on the neck and shoulders. You can also interlace your fingers and place them under your buttocks and press them down into the floor so that you have more stability. So those are two excellent yoga poses that you can use to help you deal with stress and also help you maybe feel and look better on your vacation. All right, so on to this segment, and I'll keep it brief, that I like to call Climate Reality. Because there's two very important news stories that didn't get a lot of attention, came out this week. And they should be given all due attention. One is a report that showed that there are 5 U.S. cities that could potentially run out of water due to poor